Hey, Falcons and NFL fans, welcome to another episode of NFL's Jocks and Pigskins on Atlanta Sports Unlimited with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb. Got a little bit of a crowd today that might be chiming in as well. So thanks for tuning in today. We're going to preview the Falcons' first matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Got a chance to go 1-0 for the first time in a while, Tom.
Yeah, and I think they got a very good chance at it. So be about time to see this team above 500. How long have we've been waiting ever since we started doing this show to see the team go over 500?
Yes. We bring that up a lot. So we're hoping that 1-0, should be an asterisk. Speaking of, I don't know if any Lions fans are listening, and they don't want to hear the word asterisks again. But 1-0 does it? I guess it kind of shouldn't count as being above 500, but it is.
It is. It's above 500. Hey, it's better than we've had for the last 3-4 years.
That's very true. Very true. So,
and winning is a habit.
Yeah.
Get into that habit now. Winning's a habit. So, I count 1-0. That's fine. I have no problem with that.
And the last time the Falcons were above 500 was the end of 2017. The last time, of course, you can figure out, the last time they started 1-0 was also 2017. So, have begun at least 0-1 each of the last 5 years. So,
yeah, and never caught up.
Would be very nice to have a 1 in that first column instead of a 0 after Sunday. So we'll be talking about the Falcons and the rest of the NFL Week 1 slate. Tom, has Nostradamus woken up from his drunken stupor?
Yeah, finally.
All right,
we got him sobered up. We got plenty of black coffee into him, and we might actually get some analysis on some of these games.
Was it like that scene in Back to the Future Part 3 where you give him like wake up juice, whatever they call it, and
whatever. Yeah.
Immediately he's like, and then he has to put his face in the water trough.
Right, exactly. You got it. That's pretty much how it went.
Okay.
Strong coffee and face in the water.
Yeah. So we'll have his picks. Maybe I'll have some picks for you. I don't know. And then we could also talk about Thursday's game. Quite an eventful matchup between the Lions and Chiefs. And speaking of 1-0, if you want to go into my family's pick 'em, only one person is 1-0. That is yours.
Really?
Truly. Yes. I just had a feeling about the Lions. Without Chris Jones, without Travis Kelce, I was like, I'm going with the Lions. And for a while it was looking like that wasn't gonna pan out, but the Lions pulled it out.
Yeah, they did. I mean, that defense at the end, after they scored the final touchdown, gave up one net yard of offense in those final 2 drives for Kansas City. Just amazing how that Lions defense just rose up and kind of put an exclamation point on that game.
What did you think of the Lions' decision to go for it? I should have prepared to have the exact situation in front of me, but I believe it was 4th and 2 with about 2:40 left in the game, 2:30 around there, and you're up by a point on Kansas City's side of the field, but only at like the 45-yard line about. So what did you think of Dan Campbell's decision to go for that? And then also the other 4th down decision, Andy Reid going for 4th and 20, and then it turned into 4th and 25. Did you have any strong feelings about either of those 4th down decisions?
Well, I don't think Andy Reid had much choice. I mean, at that point,
I thought he did.
I think he was getting the ball back.
So with 3 timeouts, there was 2. I know there was 2:09 left at that point.
Yeah, but they gave up the first down. That killed them.
Yeah, but obviously, if you give up a first down, the game's over. But don't you punt there and pin them back and try to get the ball back rather than having them already in field goal range?
Yeah, I do.
Worst case scenario for you guys is probably, or I should say, best case scenario for you guys is that you're going to be down by 4 now instead of 1 because you've already given them the ball in field goal range.
Yeah.
You just felt like the game was already.
The thing is, you're playing with Patrick Mahomes. All right. So sometimes that strategy takes a little bit of a change because you got Patrick Mahomes in your huddle.
Yeah.
And I that's the same thing that goes with Dan Campbell on that 4th and 2. And he's trying to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
Right.
He doesn't want Mahomes to get that last shot at the end zone. Now he's fortunate his defense rose up and did something about it. Knocked Kansas City backwards. Couple terrible penalties, but the problem on Kansas City's 4th and 25 is you don't have Travis Kelce out there,
right?
Bail him out, and that's the big thing. Kadarius Toney was terrible.
I was waiting for him to come up today. Awful. Other than really just everybody. I mean, Kelce didn't play. You don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, obviously.
Right.
So I mean, the cupboard's pretty bare without those two guys. And I know Watson's a decent receiver, especially going deep. And Noah Gray played pretty well in Travis Kelce's place, but you need some other guys to step up. And Tooney was routinely called upon and regularly fell flat.
Yeah, and Sky Moore didn't do anything for him either. So, that was another area where it would have really helped Mahomes, have any kind of weapon that was working for him. And he didn't have it. It wasn't out there for him. Tony dropped the ball that should have been a big gainer and put Kansas City within field goal range to win the game. But and that's what you expect out of a big play receiver, and that's kind of what Mahomes expects out of his big play receivers. You got to come through for me, and that's about it. I mean, nobody on the Chiefs had a good yards per attempt total for the game. They weren't catching long passes. The only long attempt that did anything was the pass interference call that led to a Buckner field goal. So, you gotta. It's rough to take when you're doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, there were. I think there were more deep passes than you're saying. That I think there were 4 20-yard passes. I guess it depends on what you're classifying as deep, but if I'm counting, and some of those might have been short passes that turned into long games. But I think the Chiefs had 4 20-plus yard receptions. But outside of that, you take that away, that almost made up half of Patrick Mahomes' passing yards. Those 4 completions. So other than that, I mean, there really was nothing for Kansas City's offense. And you brought up Tooney. I mean, he gave 7 points to the Lions by taking the ball up. And that, I mean, the Lions weren't out of the game at that point, but it gave them back a tie game. So that put them back within, gave them back the tie. So that was a huge play in the game that I don't think the announcers during the game, I think they talked about it, but I thought that was a huge turning point. That
it was.
It really didn't. I didn't think they played it up enough. That how big that play was.
Neither do I, because I think that kind of woke the Lions back up, and the Lions were trying to find any way they could to get the ball downfield. They were having a hard time against that Kansas City defense to be, anyway. And they got a free 7, and that kind of, I think, gave them the feeling that they were still in that game, that they could still do something. Because I think Detroit was kind of grasping at straws as to how they were going to keep their offense moving. And because, I mean, Goff looked good. Goff had some decent plays, but, I think Kansas City did a good job keeping pressure on Goff and and holding his receivers down. It was a rough game for him. But
yeah, especially without Jones not having
right.
your best pass rusher. I thought the Kansas City defense did very well. They only gave up 2 touchdowns.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
Lions had one other good drive, and that ended in a red zone fumble. So, other than that, it wasn't what we thought it might be. Last time Golf and Mahomes played each other was that Monday night spectacular offensive output of on Monday Night Football, 54-51 final with the Rams winning. Some of those points were scored by defensive touchdowns, but the Mahomes had 6 passing touchdowns in that game. Golf had 4 and a rushing score. So it was points all over the place. And this game was very different. The defenses played very well.
Yeah. The one thing you don't want in this game, though, and the Chiefs' running game just completely flat out was busted. You don't want Patrick Mahomes being your leading rusher. All right. He's not there to be your leading rusher, and that really hurt them. They couldn't get nothing going on the ground.
And, I think in some ways, I think the Lions exposed the Chiefs. If Kelsey's out for an extended period of time, what happens to this offense? Can this be a championship team again without without some of these weapons stepping up and figuring it out? And it's the first game, and they don't play much in the preseason anymore, so they should get better as the season goes. But
they should
still have Patrick Mahomes, of course. But you do wonder, they really didn't play very well, and is this not a championship level team this year for the Chiefs? Whatever. But then you take another aerial view of it and you look at it and you say, all right, they had Patrick Mahomes was a leading rusher. He had 18 incompletions, which almost never happens. They didn't have a 50-yard. They didn't have a receiver go over 50 yards in the whole game, and they still only lost by a point.
Right.
Against a good team.
Yeah, against a solid team. Detroit, as I said, they were ready for the game. Defending Super Bowl champions always seem to have a little problem starting the season the next year, getting things together. It's not. This isn't something we should be surprised at, but Detroit came to play. They were on the national stage, and they wanted to prove that they belonged there. I tell you, I was impressed with that Lions offensive line. But they are going to be a monster this year.
Yeah.
That's a dominant unit.
Yeah. You're right. Definitely. And it's what makes their offense go. You want to talk about Gibbs and Montgomery and Golf having a resurgence, and Amon St. Brown is terrific, and they're obviously hoping Jameson Williams becomes the guy that they thought he could be when they picked him first in the first round a couple years ago. But that offensive line is really what is going to lead Detroit places this year, I think.
Yes, it is. Montgomery did kind of what we saw him always do in Chicago. A guy keeps his legs driving. He's the inside man. He's the guy who's going to, chew up yards between the tackles. And Jahmyr Gibbs, very fast, makes the first guy miss, and tough to corral. It's tough to get him in the backfield, tackle him for a loss. He's a tough runner and strong. He doesn't normally go down on the first contact. So very positive for Detroit on offense. I think their defense looked better because Kansas City didn't play as well. Although they did do a great job holding down Kansas City's run game.
But the stats look a lot different if the Chiefs receivers catch some of those passes.
Yes, they do. Exactly. And I think the score is different. I think the Chiefs could have won that game. I think the Chiefs should have won that game. They just too many bad plays, too many drops. You just can't have that. That's kind of what happened to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl against the Rams a couple of years ago. They their receivers were not very sure-handed. They were dropping a lot of catches in that game. And if you want to make your superstar quarterback look average, don't reel in those passes. He's going to look awful average.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Smooth Thick 78 or Smooth C 78. There we go. He says Tony made them lose the game. Yeah. We were being very critical of Tony. He played awful, which is really poorly.
Gave away the pick six, and then, as I say, had a ball that would have been a long gainer that would have put the Chiefs in field goal position to finish the game, and let the ball go right through his hands. And there's just no excuses for him. Let it go right through his hands, and that was the game winner right there. So,
and Gary says Campbell was nuts going for it on 4th down with 2.5 minutes left. Dan was thinking his players were relying.
Well, his defense came up. His defense backed him. He could have looked really stupid on it.
Right.
And again, if Tony makes that catch, he does look real stupid on that one. But
and it's the same thing with the fake punt in the first half. He looks really stupid going for that if they don't get it, but they do. So and then it turns into a touchdown for them. So that looks really good. He would have looked really good if they had made that as well.
And Goff said that fake punt in the first quarter, even as far back as it is, boy, your son just really wants to get in on the conversation.
So, he does, yes.
Yeah. But, look at him.
He likes the 4th down decisions.
Yeah, but, it was a big gamble. But Goff said after the game, that gave the players a lot of confidence. That gave the offense a lot of confidence. That's why they drove down the way they did to get their first score, is because they felt, energized by getting that first down on that fake punt. And, so, but again, Smooth, who mentioned that,
Gary?
Gary.
Yeah.
Gary, you go for it on 4th down with 2.5 minutes left because you're facing Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
All right. You want to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. You're running the ball fairly consistently all game. David Montgomery, as I said, running like he did in Chicago, where he keeps his legs going. Solid inside runner. So, why not try? And I think that was a pass play that actually ended up.
Yeah, and maybe some questionable play calling there. And that was going to – I want to move on to the Falcons, so I won't dive into this topic. But I'm going to leave it as an open-ended thing that we're going to watch as the season goes, and we'll return to it. I didn't think Matt Nagy, surprise, surprise, had a very good game.
No, he didn't.
Back as Chiefs play caller.
No.
And that is something to watch because I don't want to bring up Hill too much because they didn't have Hill last year and they won the Super Bowl. But if they don't have Kelsey without a legitimate number one wide receiver, that's a problem. And then you don't have the offensive coordinator that you had so much success with. I get it.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, they'll figure it out. But in game, I don't know if I have as much confidence in Matt Nagy calling the plays as I would if Eric Bieniemy was there still.
Well, I'm telling you, no Bears fan is. There's no Bears fan who's confident with Matt Nagy calling the plays.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that I was, playing that up to you.
Yeah.
You would agree with me on that opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially that 3rd and 1 where they tried to go outside with Pacheco and just got, hammered. The Lions sniffed that play out a mile away.
Yeah.
Well, the Lions got used to preparing for Nagy twice a year, so.
True. That I thought of you with that play. I was like, it's Matt Nagy trying to outsmart himself.
Yeah.
Did not work at all. So
that's the problem with Nagy, is always had to be the smartest man in the room.
Yes.
And that's when you have a problem with the coach. When the coach tries to be the smartest man in the room, you got problems. So, and that's what he was trying to do there.
Tony laying some more criticism on Tony, and absolutely. I mean, he's way too talented. First round pick. Anybody in the NFL shouldn't be making those drops, quite frankly. And
No.
so it was just an inexcusable bad night. I thought it was actually, we didn't mention this yet, a bad night for the officials. I need to do more research into the non-false start calls. I think The Athletic did a story about
oh, God, that was horrible.
Yeah, and The Athletic did a story about him lining up in improper position. And The Athletic is, I don't know if The Athletic story cleared up why he was actually in the right or maybe continued the criticism. But according to the NBC broadcast, he was lining up improperly, way far behind the line of scrimmage of the center. From what I understand, that is against the rules. The officials were allowing him to do it all day, all night, not calling a false start, even though it's obvious watching it on TV.
And I was saying, false start constantly.
He false started on every passing play.
Yeah,
he had a deep set on every passing play. He was giving away what the Chiefs were doing. When he was 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, they were passing. When he was on the line of scrimmage, there was a run. Which I guess was an advantage for the Lions. Maybe that's why they wanted to let him keep doing it. I don't know. But Hutchinson clearly had a disadvantage trying to beat him off the edge because his edge was 2-3 yards further back.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it does. It's a big tell. And yeah, that's going to make, when you're talking about NFL defenses, that's going to make a big, give you a big advantage when you know the play before it's even, snapped. But that was just awful. Yeah, Jawan Taylor, just I couldn't believe it. I just don't see how an NFL officiating crew lets that go constantly. I don't see how Andy Reid lets that go constantly. How does Andy Reid not pull that guy aside? And I know it's nothing you can barely fix within a game, but at some point, they're definitely going to be working on it this week. In between games before week 2, but how do you go into a season doing that?
Well, he was on the Jaguars last year, and according to Chris Collinsworth, the Chiefs targeted him because they know he does this and he can get away with it. He's a savvy veteran, and they like that. And so I'm not surprised Andy Reid didn't get him to stop. It's the responsibility of the officials.
Yeah.
And a little bit on the Lions. The Lions should point it out to the officials. Hey, look, are you watching the right tackle?
Right.
Are you watching Taylor? Look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
That could have been done. I don't know if it was or not, obviously, but if you're doing something illegal and the officials aren't calling it, you're going to keep doing it. So it's up to the officials to obviously police the game and follow the rules. That's always their job. That's literally their job definition, and they failed to do that. And that's not acceptable for something so basic like a false start.
Right. No, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that he kept getting away with it.
Yeah.
But not much I can say. Somebody's got to point it out to the officials. Somebody's got to complain. Somebody's got to yell it upstairs, and we'll see what kind of grade the officials get this week. When the grades start coming out after this week 1 games.
Yeah, the last reaction I had to Thursday's game, I watched it on Peacock because I stream everything, don't have cable. Peacock got an A for the first game of the season. The Peacock is one of the better streaming services, I'd say, for streaming live sporting events. And they got a very high grade, in my opinion, from Thursday. I'm really curious to see how tomorrow goes because it's the first day of YouTube having the Sunday ticket package.
Yes. Yes. I can't wait.
And I'm happy. The Steelers 49ers is the game I'll be watching at 1:00. I'll watch the Falcons on replay. And the Falcons are on Fox in my market, so the Steelers will be on the YouTube DirecTV package, and so first crack at it tomorrow at 1:00, Tom, for me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. So,
you have the package as well?
No, I don't. Wish I did.
Yeah.
No money. I am broke. I am scraping. So I'm going to be lucky to have NFL Plus, so I can watch replays.
Yeah,
and that's about as far as it goes right now.
Yeah, and NFL Plus is a little cheaper, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Smooth says that Thomas is crying because we're not talking about the Falcons enough. So let's talk about the Falcons.
Let's get to the Falcons.
Today's show.
I want to see Mercedes-Benz rocking. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I want to see that stadium rocking tomorrow.
That would be nice. That would be very nice. Today's show brought to you by Prize Picks. By the way, wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor. Download the app when you do use our promo code ASU. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So that's some free money for you. And we'll have some Prize Picks selections coming up in a little bit. But the Falcons will be – sorry, Tom, did I cut you off?
Oh, just to mention Prize Picks, they have 27 different categories for NFL prop bets tomorrow. So you got a lot to choose from. So give it a look, sign up, give it a look. And as I said, 27 different categories. That's quite a bit going on.
Yeah, it's a lot. And they're giving you a freebie. Dak Prescott.
Yes.
Over under half a yard. That's going to be one of my recommendations, Tom.
Right.
I'm a genius. Dak Prescott will go over half a yard.
You're going to look incredibly smart. Rushing yards in first 5 attempts, receiving yards in first 2 receptions. And you look at this, it's just crazy how many ways they've found a way to put categories up there for tomorrow.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. The extra category is very, very interesting. So we'll have some picks for you coming up in a few minutes. Let's break down the Falcons-Panthers. And I can't help but start with the injury report because not super surprising, but Jeff Okudah is not going to play in this game, and he was ruled out yesterday. I think it's a good sign that he had a chance to play up until yesterday, even though he hasn't practiced at all. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. Hopefully week 2, but if not week 2, I think the end of the month, I think he'll be back. But he won't be playing tomorrow. However, the Panthers are dealing with some injuries at wide receiver that's kind of going to, I think, combat that as well. Adam Thielen is questionable, and one of their wide receivers has already been ruled out. I'm going to double check on that. DJ Chark has been ruled out, and Thielen might not play either. It's questionable. So,
and their starting right guard is going to be out. So it's a rough start to the season for a team that's kind of starting off on their new path. And now, normally, if you look last year, you could say, well, there are still some paths to victory against the Falcons, but the Falcons have filled some of those holes. This isn't going to be as easy a walk as other teams have found in previous years against the Falcons.
And Cordero Patterson and Kadirul Hodge could miss the game as well. They're questionable, so hopefully they dress. If they don't, then I think the Falcons are going to have to bring somebody up from the practice squad as a wide receiver. But hopefully that won't be necessary and those two guys play. Right.
Oh, yeah, if Hodge is out, then you have to bring somebody up from the practice squad. Somebody has to come in and play that game. But overall, I still think the Falcons are in a strong situation. The way they run their offense, the way they're going to run their offense. Let me put it that way.
Right.
We're going to see how the Falcons run their offense tomorrow for the first time with Bijan Robinson, with this new with Kyle Pitts back, with Smith and Pruitt at tight end. We're going to get a better look at what the Falcons intend to do with this offense going through the season. And I'm looking forward to that. I kind of expect to see the Falcons run game to run along the lines of what the Lions did yesterday, where you have Algier running between the tackles and Robinson, going more outside or maybe in pass catching mode. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in Arthur Smith's game plan.
Yeah, and I'm flipping it on the other side. I'm looking forward to seeing Desmond Ridder, of course, but also want to see what Bryce Young does in his first game.
Yeah.
I think it's nothing too impressive. Obviously, want the Falcons to win, but just curious to see, what he does, how he looks in his first NFL action, how he gels with Frank Reich, the head coach there now, and a really great offensive mind. So, this division is wide open. We've been saying it all summer.
Yes.
So this is a big game already in week 1 for that division race. And not only that, but just kind of the eye test. Like what can Ridder and Young show early in week 1 that will, influence what we think who can win this division.
Right. Exactly. We get a good look at it here. For the Panthers, rookie quarterbacks have a tough time making that jump to the NFL the first couple of games. So I think Ryan Nielsen, because we're going to be seeing the actual defense now, which we haven't seen all preseason. So I think Ryan Nielsen will have some interesting looks for him. We'll have some ways to try and confuse him, and it's going to be a little rough for Bryce Young. I think his talent will allow him to make some plays, but can he make enough to win the game? Maybe against last year's Falcons defense, yes. I think they're more fortified this year. I think they've done a good job of using that dead cap savings to really solidify what they're bringing on defense.
I think we'll see that league-wide tomorrow, that the defenses will have an edge. We saw that Thursday, quite frankly, that the defenses – it's easier to gel early when you haven't had much practice, you didn't have any game reps together. Some teams played more than others, but in general, your first team offense and defense haven't been on the field a whole lot in game situations yet. This will be the first time tomorrow. And you're going to have offenses maybe a little bit out of sync, not in rhythm yet. And league-wide, I think defenses will benefit. We'll see if that's a factor at Mercedes-Benz tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. That's always the case. You just don't hit enough in the preseason, and you don't play enough first-team offense in the first season to get these guys. Everything is all timing-based as far as how you make your blocks, how you make your cuts, how you make your receivers run their routes. It's all timing-based, and it's not tough to get that timing down when you're not working on it in the preseason. And, yeah, I think we're going to see that all over the NFL, especially with the rookie quarterbacks, with Young, with Richardson, and with Stroud. I think we're going to see them having a few troubles getting acclimated now when they're seeing full speed. Even in the preseason, if you're playing, you're not seeing full speed. You're going to be seeing full speed defense now. And that makes a big difference when you haven't seen that yet all summer.
I'm looking forward to, obviously, Young. I already talked about him. Stroud, yes. I mean, you're always interested in the rookie quarterbacks, but I think the one that's really intriguing is Richardson and how he does in his debut against the Jaguars.
Yes.
We didn't talk a lot about the Jonathan Taylor thing this summer, but that was huge news that we'll probably get into more in the regular season now with the Colts. And, I just, in summary, just keep it brief right now, all summer we or all, I guess, leading into the draft and why the Colts wanted to convince us that Richardson was a good pick, even though he's a pretty big project, is yeah, he's athletic. He has the potential to be Lamar Jackson 2.0, but you also have the all-pro running back Jonathan Taylor there to support him.
Yeah.
Well, now Taylor's not there. And have you done enough to fix that atrocious offensive line from last year to help out the rookie? And their starting running back might be Zach Moss tomorrow, who's questionable, or it could be the third string guy, Deion Jackson. So like the offense looks very different going from Jonathan Taylor to Deion Jackson. So
oh boy, does it.
How does Richardson do in that situation?
Yeah, again, it's tough being his first real NFL game and not having everybody that he expected to have to work with in his offense. Richardson's capable of doing some improvising, though. So right. I think that will be to his advantage. But you're also playing a pretty good defense that, was very solid in pass defense last year. And that's going to make it tougher because the Jaguars have everybody coming back. The Jaguars expect to be a playoff team.
Right.
They really expect to be a playoff team. They're not going to let up on the Colts just because they have a few problems. They want to bury the Colts early and take one contender out of the way when it comes to the AFC South.
And the Jaguars are a team that have given the Colts a ton of problems, even when they're not good. They've been a thorn in the Colts' side. This game will be in Indianapolis, but Jacksonville is like trying to play a game in hell for the Colts or something. I don't know. They just cannot win in Jacksonville. But even at Lucas Oil Stadium tomorrow, it's going to be a tough game for Richardson and the Colts.
Yes, it will. I think that one is definitely there for Jaguars to win. And I think they're going to win it. I think this is a team that is coming off a high from last season. They're confident in themselves. Trevor Lawrence has his confidence back. And I think we're going to see it. We're going to see a lot of it tomorrow.
ESPN has that line at -4.5 for the Jaguars. Is that the
last I saw was -5.
-5. Okay.
Yeah. So it might have gone down to 4.5 at this point. You're going to see the line kind of jumping half a point here and there over the next, 24 hours as we get closer to the game. But it's hard for me to see too many people climbing on the Colts bandwagon for this game. So I would not expect to see this point spread go down any further. I would expect to see it actually go up back to 5 or 5.5 before this game kicks off.
I don't know where ESPN gets their spreads, but theirs don't change. I don't know when they put them up, Tuesday, whatever, but it's just for, we don't play for money. It's just for fun. So they don't change based on how much people pick one certain team or whatever. So is that one of the lines that Nostradamus is taking? Jaguars over Colts?
Wow. Is that one of the lines? Nostradamus taking that one? Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. We're going to have that one.
Well, what else?
We're taking the Jaguars over the Colts. And as I said earlier in the season, I have no faith in Baker Mayfield to do anything for Tampa Bay.
Off the Baker Mayfield bandwagon.
Off the Baker Mayfield bandwagon. I am done. Okay. I have been defending his sorry for the last 3 years. I am done.
I think that's fair.
Minnesota Vikings at Minnesota at home. No, they don't have Dalvin Cook, but they still should cover the 5.5 because I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be very good this year.
Yeah.
So would not surprise me. Patriots, Bill O'Brien, they finally have an offensive coordinator this year. However, they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are still strong on defense. They've kept that middle of that defense strong with their, draft that, I know we weren't quite happy with their University of Georgia
Georgia draft, yeah.
Yeah. They're still strong. I think, they got their offense in place. As long as Marcus Mariota doesn't see the field, I think they cover the 4 points in New England. So,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm taking the Eagles. And I also think the Falcons are going to cover the 3.5. So I would not be surprised to see the Falcons cover the 3.5 and beat the Panthers at home. I don't think the Panthers, they're starting their rebuild. They've lost Dante Foreman and DJ Moore to the Bears, by the way, if you really want to know. So they're almost like a team starting from scratch. Burns will be out there again this week. Apparently he's going to play, even though he doesn't have a new contract, Brian Burns. So that's going to be a rough one. That's going to be tough for the Falcons to scheme against. Is the Carolina's defensive line. I think that's one of the things you might see actually Algier doing more of. When Algier is in the game, you might see Robinson split and Algier actually blocking down on any extra blitzes or anybody, because we still know Caleb McGarry is not a top pass blocker. Run blocker, yeah. I mean, he's going to be a hell of a run blocker. But don't be surprised if Tyler Algier is in the backfield blocking down on any rushing lineman or, defensive end that gets past McGarry, any blitzers. Don't be surprised if Jonnu Smith is blocking in before going on his route. If he chips next to McGarry before Smith goes into his route. Mm-hmm. So, I think that'll be enough to keep the pass rush off of Ritter and keep Ritter comfortable in the pocket. Don't have him doing – you don't have to have Ritter doing a lot tomorrow. Just, ease him into the game, give him a few short completions to start with. And I think, they got the guys to do that. I mean, Kyle Pitts and Drake London can box out and against defensive backs. So get him a few short completions, get him a couple of nice runs, and I think that'll lift Ritter for the rest of the game. It'll kind of up his confidence as he continues to play. Nothing drastic in the first quarter. Just let him get his feel for the game. Let him get his feet wet, and I think they'll be fine.
ESPN has the Falcons -2.5, so that's one of my picks for sure. I think they'll win by at least a field goal tomorrow. And if I'm going to make a couple more picks, Tom, if you bear with me.
Well, actually, the line for the Falcons now is 3.5. Because there has been some action on the Falcons this week. The public has kind of liked the Falcons going into this week, so that they pushed that line up to 3.5.
Yeah, but it's still 2.5 on ESPN. So
on ESPN, okay.
ESPN lines. So I think that's a slam dunk at 2.5. I understand you can't get it if you're really betting at 2.5, but
right.
I guess
it is a slam dunk at 2.5. Right. Anything less than a field goal, you're doing pretty good.
The Steelers are +3.5 at home. I think they could actually win this game, Tom, at home. First home opener for the Steelers since 2014. 49ers, I don't think Nick Bosa is going to play a huge role. He was holding out until like Thursday, Friday, whenever he got a contract. He's going to play for sure, but 20, 25 snaps is, I think, his max. I would be surprised to see him play more than that. I know they have other great pass rushers, but the Steelers' offensive line looks like it's going to be a lot better. And I think the Steelers could win or lose by a field goal. The line is +3.5, so I'm going with the Steelers. And this last one is kind of just a gut feeling, so don't get mad at me if somebody makes this pick and it's wrong. But I feel like the last 2 or 3 years we're all over the Titans or giving them absolutely no respect at all. There's no in between with that team. And now
there really hasn't been.
We're back to we're not giving them any respect. And they're +3.5. I know they're on the road, but +3.5 against the Saints. you have a lot of faith in Derek Carr going to be good again in New Orleans this year. I mean, I don't have much faith in that. And
I think a lot of people do, but I don't think there's any real empirical reason why they should. All right. You really, and Alvin Kamara's not playing.
Right.
He's starting a suspension.
Yeah.
So, and even with Alvin Kamara playing, it wasn't a great rushing attack. And, I don't think, Carr doesn't have many weapons there. And I don't know. You really want to put that much faith in Derek Carr? Yeah, but I think the Titans are set to win that game. I look at that as a upset win for Tennessee.
Yeah. So as an underdog, as a 3.5 point underdog, yeah, I'm on the Titans. Yeah. Is that what's the line for that in Vegas?
Right now it's 3.
3. Okay.
Yeah. Last night, is when I checked the lines. They're -3. So, but yeah, it's like in Cleveland with everybody talking about, this, how they're going to have a resurgent offense with Deshaun Watson. And there's nothing that says that Deshaun Watson is going to do anything to break out again this year. He was off for 2 years, over 2 years.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think that he's, unless he comes out in September and sets the league on fire, there is no reason to think that Deshaun Watson is going to come out and be the way he was when he was leading the Texans. It's not the same guy. And everybody's looking at him as the same guy. So, and it's funny that way. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, a little different than Derek Carr, because I think Derek Carr had one great season, and it wasn't that long ago. I think it might have been 2021. I'd have to go back and double check his stats, but I believe that season he had 4,800 passing yards, and that was, I guess, kind of his breakout. He also played very well in 2016 before breaking his leg, although I think statistically he wasn't quite as good that year. It just was on a very good team and was great at the controls of that great team. So he's had like 1 3/4 great seasons, maybe.
Yes.
Great. And then a few okay seasons. Maybe he's had more Pro Bowls than that. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But Pro Bowls for quarterbacks are like participation trophies. The third string guy for the Ravens. His name's slipping me right now. He went to the Pro Bowl last year. So we cannot judge quarterbacks off Pro Bowl appearances. So Carr has had like 2 good seasons, and people want to talk about, he's going to return to what? Like his great season was an aberration. So last year, it's like he returned to what he was before his career year. We got what Derek Carr was last year, every other year. That's who he is.
Yes.
I don't see him being anything else in New Orleans.
See, the same thing as Baker Mayfield. This is who he is.
Yeah.
And I finally accepted Baker Mayfield saying this is who he is. Yeah. Accept Derek Carr, because this is who he is. He is not the guy who threw for 4,800 yards in 2021. I looked up his stats, by the way. I didn't do that.
I was hoping you were.
I didn't do that off the top of my head. But, he had a 94 passer rating, which
that was in 2021.
Is good, but isn't spectacular by standards for these days.
Yeah.
But it's a good season. But last year, back down to 3,500 yards, 14 interceptions. He threw 14 interceptions in 2021. So, against 23 touchdowns, had 24 touchdowns last year, but still a lot of interceptions, which is why his passer rating is not as high as it should be. He does give the ball away. So that's the problem you have with Derek Carr, and you might see that again against against Titans.
Yeah.
The Titans are a solid defense. Mike Vrabel puts, they may not all be names, but they know their assignments. They know what to do, and it's a tough defense to work against.
Yeah. I've got his stats pulled up now too, Derek Carr, and he's had one elite season, that 2016 year I referenced where he broke his leg in December. 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That was an elite season. He finished third in MVP voting that year. But I think people want to point to the 4,000-yard seasons. He's had 4 of those. He peaked with 4,800 in 2021. So I think some people wanted to say that was a great season. Yeah, he got a lot of yards, but that touchdown interception ratio you referenced, 23-14, is not great. Not even 2-1. That's not particularly good.
No, it's not. It's not good. Not for a starter, not for a guy you're looking to take you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
and from the Titans' perspective, I don't 100% know what we're going to get from them. They've been a very hot and cold team the last couple of years, especially last year. They started hot and then finished very, very poorly. Some of that had to do with injuries. Yeah. It was going to be Malik Willis's team. Now he looks like a disaster of a pick. They're back on Ryan Tannehill. So I don't really know for sure what we're getting from that team. It's hard picking week 1. I've heard you say this year in and year out. Yeah. It's difficult picking against the spread in week 1. So I'm joining the fun and making 3 picks. I just think we're disrespecting the Titans a little bit by assuming they're going to lose by more than a field goal, even on the road, against a team that didn't make the playoffs last year and a team that I don't think really has gotten any better at quarterback, like a lot of people think.
No, neither do I. And I would be surprised to see Derek Carr have a big season this year. And remember, Michael Thomas, how many years is he removed from that big season?
I don't think people are even talking about him anymore.
I mean,
a guy that could be good again.
I think people are talking about him being a big weapon for Derek Carr, coming back and being that guy. And I don't see it. You know,
he's been a butt of a lot of jokes in my fantasy league chat.
Has he?
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it up fast enough. I'll try and find him for next week, but he jokes about like what was going on in the world last time he made an impact in the NFL. It's been a long time.
A while.
I think it's been even before COVID, the last time he was actually like a legitimate number 1 receiver.
Yeah, it was.
It was before COVID. 2019 was
right
on Offensive Player of the Year. 2019 All Pro, 149 catches, 1,725 yards. Just pulled up his stats. But he's been dealing with injuries ever since. The last 3 years, he hasn't even reached 700 receiving yards combined in the last 3 years. So,
all right, you have the Titans, Steelers, and who else?
Falcons.
Okay. Just tracking it.
Okay.
Make sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's not really what I wanted you to do, but okay.
You'll probably outpick me this year, Dave. I had a terrible year last year. So I'm looking to make a comeback this year.
It's a new year. It's a new year.
New year.
And Nostradamus is coming back with a vengeance.
Yep.
It's 1:00, but we still have some prize picks to make for you guys. Today's show was brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app. Use our promo code ASU when you do. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So if you haven't downloaded the app on any of the previous Saturdays watching our show, today is your last chance. No, not really. You can still do it next week.
You still do it. Yeah.
But before the season, you got to get in there before the season starts because it's a lot of fun. And use our promo code ASU. That gets you double your money. And it's a great way to support us if you like the show and or like any of the videos on our channel. So, and we've got some picks.
We need the support. Please. We need the support. Oh, come on.
So I mentioned that Dak Prescott is my genius pick at over, not under, over
half a yard. Yeah, I want to see how many people decide to take Prescott on the under on that one.
Yeah, he's going to get injured during the coin toss.
Yeah, hey, and that's kind of what I was looking at. Yeah.
So I've got 2 other picks that, again, I just mentioned how hard it is picking week 1. This is really difficult. Trying to pick what players are going to do against teams you don't really know how they're shaping up. There's no data to use. You can use last year, I guess, but still not great data to go off of.
A lot of things have changed since last year, and it's hard to do it off of last year's results.
And quite frankly, that's why they're giving you Dak Prescott half a yard. They want to encourage you to get started, even though you're not really confident in any of these other guys. But the two other picks that I made, who is the most consistent player in the NFL? Most consistent. You may razz me a little bit with this take, but the most consistent producer year in, year out, week in, week out is Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Well, that's true.
Very, very consistent. So I got him over 1.5 field goals made. They're playing the Houston Texans, who they should score a lot of points against.
Yes.
Hoping the offense gets stopped twice in the red zone. I think that's probably the biggest concern, that they're not going to ever get stopped in the red zone, and they're just going to keep scoring touchdowns. But
that is the big concern. You're right.
Tucker, maybe there's one time they get stopped in the red zone, and then Tucker makes a 55-yard field goal before halftime. Boom, that gets you gets you over 1.5 field goals made. And my other pick is kind of a homer pick. I'm going Bijan Robinson having a big first game in his NFL debut, over 87.5 rushing receiving yards. I think we're going to find that most weeks, if that scrimmage yards total for Bijan Robinson is under 100 yards, particularly if it's under 90 yards, we're going to be saying to take Bijan Robinson on the over there. So I'm doing that week 1.
Okay, that works out great. As far as where I'm going back with a friendly face to Atlanta Falcons fans. Well, I don't know how friendly it is because he didn't really come through his final year. But Calvin Ridley is 65.5 yards and playing a team that is struggled last year. And I have no reason to think they're any better this year at pass defense.
Yeah.
So,
I think they got rid of all their cornerbacks.
Yeah. So I say take Calvin Ridley, take the 65 yards over, and Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdown passes.
Oh, okay.
I could see Trevor Lawrence going 3 or 4 touchdown passes in this game. So
I like that. You're kind of going the double whammy Jaguars against the Colts defense. I like it.
That's it. That's where I'm going. Plus that single whammy of Dak Prescott, managing to eke out half a yard against the Giants defense. And, we'll go from there.
Yeah. Hope he doesn't throw a pick 6 on the first play and get injured, or throw a screen pass that goes for negative yards and then it's the game somehow. Yeah, that's
gets sacked, injures his leg on an interception, and he's out. Everybody's screwed.
We're joking, but that's going to happen now. Now that we brought it up as like never going to happen, it's going to happen now. Sunday Night Football, I'll have hit Robinson and Tucker on the over. You will have hit on the Jaguars, and we're like, big payday. Dak Prescott, me 1 yard.
Oh no!
What happened? Yeah, we're really hoping that doesn't happen. So
right. Oh man.
But thank you for making us part of your weekend. We know there's so much content out there for the NFL and football games on your TV with college going on. So we thank you for making us a part of your Saturday. We started late today. Thank you for tuning in, even though we were a few minutes late. Have a great time enjoying the rest of week 1. I know Thursday, I had a great time watching Thursday. We hope that the Falcons win, of course, but we hope that you all enjoy the games on Sunday night, and then the Monday night matchup.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot to enjoy at Mercedes-Benz Stadium tomorrow. As I say, rock that stadium. And once you do that, have a great week, everyone.